everyone. Welcome to another episode of Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Bannister. In today's podcast, we've got Spencer Pope. He is a manager of the technical support team at Bradford White Water Heaters, and they're part of the Bradford White Pro Platinum platform, a training organization for the trades. Welcome to the show, Spencer.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, look, for anyone who doesn't know who you are or is not sure what Bradford White is, tell us a little bit about the organization and kind of how you got into it.
Oh, man. How much time do we have? I'll start with Bradford White, I suppose. Bradford White, we've been around for just a little while. We've been in water heaters for a bit. We started back in 1881. So we've been just a couple years. Yeah. Over 140 years, we've been making water heaters, and we actually have a long history in manufacturing. We did make a few other things over our history, but really at this point, we're known for the water heaters and boilers. And myself, I am as you mentioned, the manager of technical support and training. I started here back in 2011. So been here just over 15 years.
Okay.
I did about 8 years of tech support. One of our claims to fame in the industry is Bradford White was the first manufacturer to go to 24/7 tech support and warranty support. And so the tech team is based right here in Middleville, Michigan. That's where our manufacturing facility is. So I originally came on board. I flew solo and covered the entire North American continent for the first few years here. And I've done some specialty support. In 2020, I became a technical trainer. And then in 2022, I joined the supervision team. And before Bradford White, I was a service contractor. I did commercial food equipment, refrigeration, and HVAC. So I'm technically not a plumber. I just play one at work.
Okay. So y'all primarily make the water heaters and boilers.
Yep.
And you're part of the technical team. So contractors and technicians having issues on site or whatever, they're calling in and you're kind of walking them through any kind of troubleshooting issues they may have.
That's right. Yeah. Whether it's new construction, whether it's an older heater, they're looking for service. And something we pride ourselves on is, like myself, having a contractor background, and everyone in the tech support team we're some flavor of licensed contractor. We've got some HVAC discipline. We've got master plumbers. And like I said, they're based here in Michigan, and nobody reading from a script. And I like to mention that just because, like, I know my experience when I was in the field and the times that I contacted a tech support team. I appreciate it being, based here in the U.S. and people not reading from a script. That's something that I'm really proud of as an employee owner here at Bradford White. So I always like mentioning that.
So what do you, look, you deal with a lot of technical stuff. You're dealing with technicians and contractors in the field struggling. Let's talk about it from the other side of the coin. What do you think some of the biggest training gaps are that you're seeing right now from the plumbing world?
Oh, it's a great question. Sometimes it seems like we need to get back to basics a little bit when it comes to training. What I tend to see very talented wrench turning mechanics that maybe what I suspect is there's not as much time for on the job training in today's market. And I think you couple that with a lack of vocational training feeding into the trades, starting at the middle school or high school level. And so I interact with plumbers who are very comfortable installing a water heater, replacing a water heater, but not as comfortable addressing the behaviors of the water heater, addressing things like, if it's an atmospheric, has it established an appropriate draft, or have we sized combustion air appropriately? If I have a lot of pilot outages, how would I break that down into bite-sized pieces so that I know, hey, it is only the pilot assembly, or it's a breathing issue entirely. It's not actually the water heater. Those tend to be the gaps that I see on the training side.
So I personally believe that there's this misconception almost that has taken place over the last 15, 20 years that, if you're really good technically at fixing stuff, that's great, but there's not a lot of money to be made there. Whether that's from the business owner's perspective or from the technician who's getting spiffed and rewarded on those types of things. But let me ask you from a technical side, how do you believe that better technical training can help contractors make more money?
The training aspect of it really, it's one of the most challenging things. I think you mentioned the business owner. Business owners sometimes struggle to establish that ROI on the training side. And the way we've attempted to do that on the Bradford White training team is we demonstrate the fact that if a technician comes to one of our sessions, we will start with basics, as we talked about, the core functionality of the water heater, sequence of operation. And as we get comfortable with those steps, we'll escalate concept. We'll go from an atmospherically vented heater to a power vent, from a power vent to a commercial condensing, and out to tankless or heat pumps or whatever it may be. And then we'll circle back to where we started, say atmospheric product. And what we tend to demonstrate is that students who visit us, they gain a level of confidence and a level of awareness to say, if I go A to B, B to C, C to D, I tend to resolve more problems. I tend to do it more quickly. And so the ROI there becomes, we can maybe resolve simple issues on a water heater instead of replacing it. We can save some time. And it also becomes, I think, we can visit more customers in any given day. And so it adds to efficiency that way. Those are the ways that I see training improving the business side of the equation.
Yeah.
It adds to efficiency. It adds to customer satisfaction, of course, and produces more exposure to more customers.
Yeah. And I think you have less callbacks and, less one-star reviews, so those
Yeah.
things will impact your future business,
Yep.
Let's talk about some common, water heater mistakes that lead to the most callbacks or lost profit or unhappy customers, since we're talking about that.
Mhm.
Like what are some of the most common ones that you see?
It tends to be related to pilot outages if it's atmospheric product, or it tends to be related to breathing issues if we're talking power vented products. So whether it's residentially, water heaters that have a fan venting through the sidewall, even commercially, if you're talking condensing water heaters, those will have a fan, of course, on them. Usually the callbacks are those harder to quantify intermittent pilot outages, or those harder to quantify intermittent pressure switch or safety switch issues on a residential or commercial water heater. And those are the situations where troubleshooting really becomes paramount. Those are the situations where knowing the sequence of operation becomes paramount. You have pilot outages and you'd say, okay, maybe that the thermal pile or the pilot assembly is our problem. And then on top of that, I'm going to tackle the gas valve as well. You replace those components. Intermittent pilot outages continue. Then you have to get into the combustion air side, the flammable vapor ignition resistant system or the screen in the bottom of the chamber, whether we're pulling an appropriate draft, whether the space is in a negative pressure. An example might be in a residential setting, maybe a bathroom fan is set up in a way that it pulls air out of the structure. And today's modern building envelopes, there's no real way for new air to get in. And pulling a negative on the structure, you'll pull air backwards down your atmospheric venting, and you could potentially snuff out pilots that way. And so that's where you really have to get into the details and try and avoid those callbacks. And I had a question for you. I know in my experience, when I was in the field, our shop, we didn't charge for callbacks. That was on us. We changed it a little bit in my tenure at that shop, but we had a policy that we were going to warranty our labor.
Yeah.
Is that your experience? Like in the people that you talk to in the industry, is that sort of across the board?
Yes. It's called a $0 ticket in their world.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that kills averages, but that's why training is so important. And, I think you touched on it in the beginning that, I don't think there's enough on the job training or training inside before they throw somebody into a truck. And there's a lot of things that you were just explaining there that you were speaking a different language to me. But here's what I will tell you. We've gotten into a world with sales in the home service space over the last 20 years where you used to have a lot of technical people that would explain the details and they were there to fix stuff or give a true, honest recommendation of, when a replacement needed to be done, because everything technically they explained, like, this isn't, it's going to be so much more expensive to repair. It's time to replace this. But we've moved into this world of like high pressure sales almost, or very, very good sales. And it's just replace. And you've got people out there selling that have little to no technical knowledge because they're salespeople. But I think whether it's 20 plus years of this, in my opinion, wrong solution of how things have been done. And listen, I come from the marketing side, so I know why companies have had to shift to this model, right? And it's the one thing that's not really ever talked about. If you were to go Google or go to AI or something and say, give me a chart and show me a chart of Google, Meta, TikTok, Yelp price increases over the last 10 years, it is on a straight vertical incline. Nobody talks about that. They just think, well, what I'm spending on marketing, if it's 10,000 a month or 50,000 a month, like, they're not looking at that same 20 or 30,000 a month doesn't get you the same results, or this doesn't carry you the same distance it did 5 or 6 years ago, because Google doesn't say we've jacked our prices up. Like, you're still spending 10,000 a month on PPC or whatever. But the fact of the reality is, and I've got data to back it up here, on Google PPC, let me give you plumbing, because that's the world you come from. All right. So on plumbing, just a couple months ago, the cost per acquisition on Google PPC for plumbing was $837.17 to acquire one new customer, where money exchanged hands on the acquisition. That's not they didn't go and do a full repipe. They didn't do a new water. We don't know what the job was, but it was $837 to get it. So it's hard to run a profitable business when you send someone out to a plumbing call and you're already minus $837 without that plumber's hourly rate and insurance and the vehicle and the fuel, no overhead.
All the overhead.
So they can't go in there and go, oh, this is just an easy $50 fix, let me leave, right? The system is broken. It is broken. It is just fundamentally broken at this point. And so I don't know how we get back to, let's go do right by the customer and fix their stuff when it needs to be fixed and replace it when it needs to be replaced. But here's what I'll tell you about when you were telling me about the training, and when technicians come in and y'all start at the basics and y'all start going through it. What I noticed was, from a sales perspective, because my world, I know how to sell, but I feel like homeowners these days, because the industry is almost taken like a used car salesman approach, unfortunately. All right. It used to be used car sales, and then it went to mechanics. Mechanics had a bad rap because they seem like you bring your car in for oil change and they tell you that you need $4,000 worth of stuff. Now that's what the whole service industry, that's what's happened with plumbers and HVAC. Like, it should be a simple, my air was working yesterday, it's not working today. It could just be a contactor that's $20, but they're going to come in and tell you it's, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to fix this problem, because it costs them $1,000 to get out to the home because of the marketing costs, right?
Totally.
So I understand both sides of it, but what I will say is that the way that you were explaining the technical knowledge that you have, that if the people going inside the homes can start getting back to that level, that level of knowledge has value.
Yes.
Right? Because you got to send that person to the school, and to make, they have to get all of that knowledge to be able to articulate that to the homeowner. But I feel like that is deserving of charging more and having a higher average ticket one. But if you just have a salesperson that's just coming in to just sell, it's like, man, I don't even know what I'm buying here, right? Like, do I really need a new water heater?
And I think you said a couple of interesting buzzwords there. You had said high pressure sales. And then you said the word value, and that's exactly the world that we try to live in on the training side. Is, of course, to your point, the cost, the overhead, everything that took you to even get this particular call. We're running a business here. We need to make some money, but instead of high pressure sales, if we were able to optimize or focus on selling value, I think that's really the name of the game: selling value.
Yes.
If you can show up and confidently break down, this
Yep.
is how the heater is installed, or really any equipment. I think this stuff starts to touch on very broad topics of how best to. I think these are truths that occur in plumbing, they occur in HVAC.
Yeah, I agree.
That if you can assess, okay, the equipment is installed appropriately, I can break down its sequence of operation, and I can confirm, yep, this time it's just your pilot assembly. But in addition to noticing the pilot assembly issue, we notice, oh, hey, there's an issue with the venting up in the attic. There's an issue with the termination. There is real value to sell the customers so that we can make those upsells, but keep the customer whole, keep the customer confident in what we've delivered. And so we can justify that call. We can earn some money for ourselves. And yet we sold the customer something valuable because we brought those professional skills to the table.
I agree.
I think you're right. There's sort of a missing piece in there where if I'm the professional, but at the end of the day, I'm really just a parts changer, what is the value I'm bringing to that customer? And I think that's incumbent on us to maintain that integrity as licensed contractors, as business professionals. What am I bringing to this equation? Yeah, I can show up in a truck with a lot of tools in it, but if I'm just a parts changer at the end of the day, what value am I really bringing the customer?
Yeah. And look, I've got a question here for you, and it now it's like making my mind, like, I didn't look at this question when I created it originally the same way, but the question was going to be, do you feel that some technicians struggle to sell the right water heater or plumbing solution because they don't fully trust their own knowledge, right? But I mean,
100%.
I think some don't struggle, and then some, it's the other side of the spectrum where they don't have any knowledge. Their job is to go sell, right? So that's the unethical side of the spectrum. And the other side is, because they don't have the knowledge, they're not, offering or suggesting the right solution to begin with.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's even when you look at it, say it's an individual that they're not a service technician. They're there to make the sale. Are they sizing appropriately? Are they looking at constraints in the structure, like negative pressure in the building or lack of combustion air, or would this application be best served with a condensing product versus non-condensing? If they don't have those skills to be able to assess some of those things, then yeah, we're right back where we started. To your point.
How do you feel contractors or home service business owners could use the education and the training as a marketing advantage with homeowners?
That's a good question. The closest example that I have in my industry experience would be something like NATE certification in the HVAC world. To me, when I was in the field and I'd see that NATE badge on someone's sleeve, that spoke to a higher level of quality just automatically. That sort of secured the sale in a way, because it's like, oh, this is a person that's certified, and I'd liken it to like ASE certification for mechanics. I perceive there's a little bit of a struggle in the plumbing trades to really maintain a certification of meaning, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I
No, I
don't
think it would have to be more like what you and I were just talking about. I don't think it's a certification that's going to make the impact. It's going to be the way that you are explaining the different components and the way you need to check different things to get to a solution. When you were talking about the pilot and stuff, and how the callbacks come, like that level of understanding and knowledge, I believe that screams trust. And trust is, how someone feels about your business is your brand. So I believe that that level of knowledge, when you make that homeowner feel like, man, this person was so knowledgeable, this company is so reliable, well, then they're going to go talk to their neighbors, or they're going to talk to their Facebook community group that they're in, to
Yep.
say, this is the plumbing company you need to call because we got our new water heater from them recently. And the level of knowledge and the way that they took the time to explain everything to us, I think it's not just, I think a lot of people can go to a forced class to get some kind of certificate, to wear some kind of badge on their
Yep.
sleeve, or to say we're such and such certified, right? But it's a completely different game when someone can walk in your house, can diagnose a problem, be able to talk through that with the homeowner and offer suggestions that makes the homeowner usually want to go to the most expensive suggestion because they trust what that person just told them and educated them on.
And we're switching into another topic that's closely related, which is a bit more of the psychology of the whole thing, psychology of sales, and the ability to communicate. If you can't make a connection with that customer, and like the example I would give is the culture within Bradford White. It's very important to us that the relationship we maintain with our wholesalers and our plumbing contractors, we say within these walls, we want to be the emotional favorite. And the emotional favorite means we're going to go the extra mile. We're going to give where we need to give. We're going to accommodate. We're going to do anything that we can to be that emotional favorite, because ultimately that relationship is what drives more sales volume.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
And so you were sort of addressing that, saying, hey, if you're in the home, if you become that customer's emotional favorite, yeah, you're going to get the referral. You're all they're going to talk about. Say, I had this great experience on whatever it was. And so, yeah, you got to be the emotional favorite. And part of that is certainly knowing what you're doing, bringing the knowledge to make them comfortable. And then the other part of that is the interpersonal side of it, the soft skills. And I can say, as a manager of a technical support team, it has been a struggle for me to find that special unicorn. And I'm guessing this is true for just about anybody you've spoken to and yourself, that when you're looking for team members, really hard to find somebody that's got those mechanical skills, very knowledgeable,
Yep.
and somebody that's got those soft skills. To find both, it's tough.
Yeah. What does Bradford and White teach their distribution relationships? And then, like, is there a component that y'all are also teaching contractors as well, like how to communicate with homeowners about water heaters, and what we should be talking to them about before there's an actual emergency or a problem with their water heaters?
It sort of depends on which customer group is visiting us. We do change the material that we cover depending on who's here. So like any given day in our facility, and for those who can see us on camera, I'm sitting in our iTech Center, our International Technical Excellence Center. We have a 5 million BTU live fire training lab here. I've got some cutaway water heaters behind me so we can talk about heat exchangers and heat transfer principles. And in this facility, any given week, we'll usually bring in 2 or 3 different groups. They might be contractors, they might be wholesalers, they might be engineers, they might be business owners. Depending on who's visiting, we'll have to tailor that messaging just a little bit. But an example I can give is we host periodically through the year instructor training programs where we will pass on a little bit more of the soft skills side of things. We will hit on, hey, what's the best way to convey using adult learning techniques to your students? And sometimes it will be more of the business owner side where we will cover the soft skills piece and say, hey, how do you convey technical information in a digestible way and secure a sale? But that's the minority of what we do. There aren't a lot of visitors that are looking to us as an OEM for the soft skills training. I would envision that's going to change as we go to the future. And like we talked about, there are enough of these gaps that I think more and more of this stuff does fall to the OEM, because it doesn't happen on the job site and it doesn't happen in vocational training. So I think more of this stuff will migrate to us, but I will say that we've had sessions where we'll address simple things like, hey, maybe best practice, don't park your truck in the customer's driveway so it doesn't leave oil spots. When you knock on the door, knock on the frame, not directly on the door. Stand at an angle in the doorway so that you're not imposing. Bring just your clipboard initially, not your tech bag. Hear their story, then bring your tech bag. We've done things like that, and I think we'll continue to do those. But as I said, historically, the OEM hasn't been the place where most of our visitors have looked for that stuff. I
Okay.
think looking forward, that's going to increase.
What is the Pro Platinum platform that y'all have, and how is that helping contractors continue learning while they're still running a busy business?
We've got our system. It's called For the Pro. It's you can visit our website dedicated to licensed professionals. It's forthepro.bradfordwhite.com, and it's really all layers of the plumbing industry. So that website has access to all of our literature. It's our installation documents, service documents, bulletins. And so whether you're a wholesaler, whether you are the business owner, whether you're the contractor, there's lots of great information. There are videos out there on troubleshooting some of the things we talked about.
Yeah.
There are videos out there on features, benefits, how to use our controls. And so really great platform. You also have access through forthepro.bradfordwhite.com to getting connected to our local rep in your market, which can gain you access to our training initiatives. We do distance learning where our rep can show up to your shop and one of us instructors here at the home base will remote in. You'll have components in hand, bring your tools, work on things. And then we do things like we bring customers back here to Middleville, and you also have access to our entire distribution network through that website. So tons of great resources on that portal.
And what is the website again?
forthepro.bradfordwhite.com.
Okay. Let's talk about mindset a little bit. You been there 15 years. You were in the contracting space before that. So you've been around contractors in some capacity for a very long time. What kind of mindset do you think separates the contractors who keep growing from the ones who stay stuck?
I would say it is maintaining openness to new ideas. As our industry changes, we've talked a lot about atmospheric water heaters, atmospherically vented water heaters. But with the advent of power vent water heaters, thus far, those have mostly been optional, simply as a matter of what is your application? Do you need to vent through the sidewall? Probably power vent's a good choice. Do you vent through the roof? Atmospheric's a good choice. But I think our industry, other industries have all been affected by more and more legislative changes, more and more efficiency standards. And as those things come down the pipeline, more than ever, the most successful contractors are going to be those who are open to new technologies, new ideas, entirely new ways to do things. Example would be tankless or heat pump water heaters. Tankless is somewhere around 7% of the total North American North American market right now. Heat pump is a little bit higher than that. But as, again, legislation starts to affect change, we're going to see those segments grow by quite a bit. And we dodged a little bit of a bullet this year. The DOE has a rule that they have passed and formalized that was set to take effect in October of this year. It affected commercial installations. So for your residential, your home side, it didn't have an effect yet. But what it was doing for the commercial space is it was essentially outlawing, after October of 2026, the ability to install an atmospherically vented commercial water heater. Everything had to be condensing. And you can imagine the challenge if you're in a major metro and your business is on the ground floor of a high-rise structure, to completely redo your venting to install a condensing product versus non-condensing, changing all of your vent material, size changes, piping changes, it represents a significant cost. And translating that to the residential side, like the next residential thing will likely be 2029 efficiency standards are going to make it so that pretty much the vast majority of residential electric water heaters will have to be heat pump technology. Heat pumps, a little bit different ball of wax from installing a standard res electric. Heat pumps are excellent. They have excellent benefits. They really are as efficient as the numbers on paper say. But having things like enough air exchange around the unit is something you just didn't have to think about for a standard res electric. Used to be you could stick your standard electric under the counter, under the stairwell, and not think about it ever again for 15 years.
Yeah.
And now with a newer heat pump, it's going to need a little maintenance. It's going to need a little air exchange, and then trade off for that being awesome efficiency, pays for itself over its life. But being open to those new technologies is incumbent on us as the industry changes.
That's a great answer. Thank you. What advice would you give to business owners, home service contractors today who want to build a stronger training culture inside of their company, but just don't feel like they really have it in place?
Best thing I could say there is pursue training with the OEMs, any OEM, as much as you can. Engage with the subject matter experts and demystify things. In my experience, like the shop I worked at, and even for myself, before I came to Bradford White, there were aspects of certain pieces of equipment that I was afraid to ask about. I was afraid of, you're sort of afraid of being mocked, or, oh, you don't know that. When you engage with an OEM and they can offer some training and they can be the subject matter experts, it takes away a little bit of that intimidation. And as you engage with different OEMs, you get a level of variety that I think keeps the conversation going. So that'd be my answer: is engage with OEMs as much as you can. And if you're talking leadership within any organization, it's on us as leaders, the tech support team that I manage. I mean, there is no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as, I challenge them on a regular basis, the phone agents, open the literature, read it cover to cover, bust out your highlighter, highlight things. It's not as common for us to read the actual literature, but there's so much good information in those things. And so, like what I say when we host a training sessions, I like to say the knee pad that we send with the water heaters has got pictures in it now. So there's pictures and words in there. Good information. It's good to read that stuff cover to cover from time to time. But I think it does go back to, of course, having the time to do it, creating the ability for your techs to do that.
So my last question I have before we'll do a round of rapid fire questions, but the last subject matter topic question here would be, and you talked about a little bit of this about with the DOE and maybe some changes coming up in 29, but what changes in the water heater technology space should contractors be paying attention to right now?
Big ones are those that I hit on. Tankless is a massively growing segment. It's growing exponentially. And heat pumps, same exact thing. In 2015, the federal government, they introduced the latest phase of NAECA, which is the National Appliance Energy Conservation Act. At that point, 2015, it was April of 2015, and they said, all of us manufacturers, if we produce a residential electric water heater above 55 gallons capacity, it has to be more than 100% efficient. And I'll just let that sit a second.
Yeah.
More than 100% efficient. I mean, it's silliness at face value. You look at a standard res electric, they're already 98% efficient. The heating element's submerged in the water. You're not losing any of the heat that you're paying for, but that standard said it's got to be better than that. So what a heat pump does is literally our modern heat pump today, every watt of electricity you pay for, you are getting about 4 watts of heat into the water. How it does that is it runs a sealed refrigeration system. Picture like a window air conditioner sitting on top of the water heater. Window air conditioner, you've got cool air blowing in the room, you've got the hot air blowing outside. You take that concept and set it on top of a water heater. You're blowing cool air in the room, you're putting the heat down into the water. And so you can run this sealed system very efficiently, very low energy draw, low and slow, it recovers the water. And so it really is very efficient as far as your dollars go, although I think we could both admit like over 100% isn't technically possible according to the laws of physics. But yeah, that's technology that in 2029, like I said, it's pretty much going to be the only answer for res electric. And so between that and then on the gas side, I know that there are different states or different jurisdictions that are banning natural gas altogether. I know that there's some jurisdictions that are banning the ban so that you can stick with natural gas. And for those areas that stick with natural gas, I think efficiency is going to drive you to where you're condensing you're 98%, 99% efficient. So got to be up to speed on how that stuff works.
I love it. Anything you want to close out with?
Training. Knowledge.
Okay.
I loved what you said about creating the relationship with the customer, creating the trust, bringing knowledge to that equation is one of the main ways that you establish trust. And so what we tend to say in our sessions is know the sequence of operation. The way a piece of equipment works, its sequence is just like a roadmap. If I asked you, how do you get from your house to your shop? You would give me those directions. And if I said, nah, I don't think I believe you turn right on Maple, or what if I turned left? And you'd say, well, nope, I know it front to back. I can never be wrong on it. Yeah. That level of confidence, if we bring that to how equipment works, we'll build those relationships for sure. So knowing that, having that as your roadmap, and then always be a detective. Always look for opportunities when you're on any given job. But all of that gets wrapped up into training. Train as much as you can.
I love it. How does people reach you?
Best way would be you can reach the training team directly if you have any questions. training@bradfordwhite.com. That's our email. Otherwise, if you visit forthepro.bradfordwhite.com, that will get you in touch with the rep in your market. And again, they will help with local training, distance learning, and then getting you plugged into visiting us here at the home base and training at the International Technical Excellence Center.
I love it. All right, Spencer, now I'm going to do a couple rapid fire questions where we get to know you just a little bit better. Ask you some questions, you just shoot from the hip, all right?
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
All right, childhood hero.
Childhood hero. Oh, man. I'm going to go Spider-Man.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
A famous person that you would like to have a dinner conversation with, they could be dead or alive.
Abraham Lincoln.
That's a good one.
He was my favorite president in high school.
That's a good one. Something surprising that most people don't know about you.
Surprising that most people don't know about me. Well, I originally was going to go to school as a vet tech, and I had a 6-foot iguana as a pet at one point.
Okay, interesting. 6 foot. That's a big one. And then, does Spencer believe in aliens?
Oh man, no. I'm going to go with no.
Okay. All right. Well, Spencer, this has been fun. I appreciate the knowledge that you brought to this. And, I think hopefully the point was made that training can make an impact across your whole entire company. So I do appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yep.